These are 6 of our all-time favorite Crockpot meals. When I'm needing a good slow cooker meal, I always go to these recipes. They are filling, flavorful, easy to put together, and I love that I can put our meal in the slow cooker and walk away. In my crock pot, I have 4 skinless, boneless chicken broths. I have added salt and pepper to these. Now I'm gonna add 2 cans of cream of chicken soup. I like the healthy, and Great Value makes the healthy cream of chicken soup, in case you're not aware of that, because I just learned that myself. I'm gonna put this all over the chicken broths. The recipe calls for 32 ounces of chicken broth. In a 1 cup measuring cup, I'm gonna put about a teaspoon of chicken bouillon. And I'm gonna use some of that chicken broth, and I'm gonna pour this in until it reaches about a cup. I'm gonna give it a really good stir to mix that chicken bouillon into. Whenever I make this recipe, I always do this step because it gives it extra flavor. The recipe calls for 1 stick of butter. I don't use 1 stick. I use about half of a stick of butter, and I use the I can't believe it's not butter. I'm placing the butter all over the top of this soup mixture. The 1 cup of chicken broth with the bouillon in it, I'm gonna pour that all over the chicken mixture and the rest of the 32 ounce box of chicken broth. I like to add this house seasoning by Paula Deen over the top of everything. It just gives it a little something special. I'm gonna set my crock pot to low. 6 hours is all I need before I have to shred up the chicken. I found this recipe many years ago, and it quickly became one of our favorites. It is a highly requested meal, and I mean, it's really super easy to put together, minimal ingredients, hearty, filling, and it is a good way to end a day with a bowl full of comfort. I know this recipe's been around on social media, but if you have not given it a try, definitely do so, because I know it will become one of yours and your family's favorite meals. The last hour of cooking, I'm adding these Reams frozen noodles. I find them at Walmart in the freezer section. Mix them in really well, and they are going to be perfectly done in 1 hour. So this is what it looks like when it's done. You can serve salad with it, bread, but we usually just eat it like this. It's so good. Today I'm making mooshu pork. This is what I did this morning to prepare it. Need 2 bottles of hoisin sauce. I'm adding both bottles to a bowl, along with 3 tablespoons of soy sauce. I'm gonna give this a really good stir and bring my crock pot over to me. I put a little bit of the sauce in the bottom of my crock pot, and I am adding my pork loin. I'm not worried about taking the gristle off from the pork loin at this point. Once it's cooked, it will just come right off with ease. I'm gonna pour the sauce over the top of the pork loin, set my crock pot on low, and let it cook for the day. My pork loin has been cooking most of the day, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull it out. I'm gonna shred it, but I'm also going to add some green onion at this point, and I'm gonna add 2 bags of coleslaw mix. You can use 1.5 if you so choose. It shrivels right up, mixes right in with the pork, and flavors this dish perfectly. I forgot to tell you that I also added salt and pepper to the pork loin. After the pork is cooked, I always scrape off the fat on the top and just throw that away. At this point, it is really easy to shred. After I shred the pork, I put it back into the crock pot and let it finish cooking. I love the ease of this recipe, and the flavor is unbelievable. With only a minimal amount of ingredients, the flavor goes throughout the whole entire dish, and it is truly one of our favorites. Years ago, we had mooshu pork at an Asian restaurant, and we fell in love with it. When we come across this recipe, this was as good, if not better, than what we had had at the restaurant years ago. This recipe is one, when I say we're having mooshu pork, everybody's like, ooh, mooshu pork. We all look very forward to it. I'm gonna add in the chopped green onion. I'm gonna give that a stir so they get down into the sauce with that pork. Oh, yum, it smells so good already. I'm using both bags of the coleslaw mix. I'm gonna grab a spoon and mix this in really well so that it's coated with that sauce. I'm gonna put the cover back on this, keep it on low, and I'm gonna let it go for probably about another hour, and it should be ready for us to eat. Seriously though, my stomach is growling. I made some rice to go with the mushu pork tonight as well. I like to have rice in with my mushu pork in the wrap. So good. Or you can just have it over top of rice. So I have my rice on the bottom of the mushu pork. I have them in tortillas. Oh my goodness, so good. And then on the side, I am having these chips. They're from United and they are deli style chips. And deli style, you know, because they're in the deli. But they're really good. They're seasoned so well. Look at the seasoning on those. Ooh, today is another delicious Crockpot meal. It is Crockpot cube steak. This is all of our favorites. Hands down, we love this meal. The cube steak melts in your mouth. Not even kidding you. For this, I'm using a can of cream of chicken, can of French onion soup, a packet of the au jus gravy mix, and a half a cup of water. I'm gonna whisk this together really well. It does not get smooth, so don't worry about the lumps being in there. Once it's cooked, there won't be any lumps. I'm gonna pour a little bit of the gravy into the bottom of the crock pot. I'm adding 4 cube steaks to the crock pot. They will overlap each other, but they cook down, so they all fit. I'm gonna add some salt and pepper, a little more of that gravy, 4 more cube steaks, salt, pepper, and the rest of the gravy. I'm gonna scrape the bowl really good to get all those onion bits. I'm gonna set this on low and let it cook for the day. Jason's scooping the gravy out of the crock pot. It smells amazing. I have potatoes bubbling away for homemade mashed potatoes. And I also went ahead and mixed up the slurry so that we can get the gravy thickened up here in just a second. And we're gonna have the steamable corn. I am eating my corn on my mashed potatoes. It also has the gravy in there and the cube steak. Today I'm making crockpot lasagna. Now this is one of Jason's favorite meals. For the lasagna, I am scrambling up burger. I added a little bit of salt and diced up an onion. Now for this part, you want a deeper skillet because it needs to hold a lot. You can also use ground turkey. Now that my burger is browned up, I'm gonna add 3 minced cloves of garlic. It calls for a 28 ounce of crushed tomatoes. In my pantry I had crushed tomatoes with basil. I'm just gonna use this because I need to use this up. I'm adding petite diced tomatoes. This sauce would be really good over just spaghetti. 2 teaspoons of oregano, along with 2 teaspoons of basil. So I'm mixing this in very carefully. Now I'm adding a cup of water. Ooh, see how full this pan gets? I'm adding 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. I'm gonna let this lightly simmer together for a few minutes. While the sauce is bubbling away on the stove, I'm gonna add these ingredients to this bowl. I have some ricotta cheese. The recipe says cottage, but I prefer ricotta. I have 7 ounces of fat-free mozzarella cheese and a 1/4 cup of grated Parmesan cheese. Stirring all of this together really well. I lightly sprayed my crock pot, and now I'm adding some of the sauce to the bottom of my crock pot. I also weighed out on my little scale 8 ounces of pasta lasagna noodles. I'm breaking the noodles up and putting a couple of them on the bottom of my crock pot with the sauce. Taking 1/3 of the mixture, and I'm gonna put it all over the noodles. I am going to spread this out over the noodles a little bit so it's more evenly coated. Now I'm just gonna start the layering process. I also reserved a 1/2 cup of the mozzarella. I ended the layers with sauce on top. I'm gonna take the 1/2 cup of mozzarella cheese. I'm gonna sprinkle that all over the top. This only cooks for a few hours because everything's basically cooked already. So it's gonna cook on low for 4 to 5 hours. This is the lasagna, and tonight we're gonna have some salad with it. The Weight Watcher nutrition information is with the recipe down below. Tonight's slow cooker meal is Cafe Rio chicken. This one is so full of flavor, and it's gonna make your house smell wonderful. In a little bowl, I'm gonna put a 1/2 cup of zesty Italian dressing, 1/2 cup of water, 1/2 tablespoon of chili powder, and 1/2 tablespoon of cumin, a packet of ranch seasoning, 3/4 of a tablespoon of minced garlic. I'm gonna give this a good stir. I'm gonna pour a little bit of the seasonings right into the bottom of the crock pot. I'm gonna add 4 skinless, boneless chicken breasts. Wow, we cut ours in half, so it just looks like there's more in here, but there isn't. There's 4. I'm gonna pour the rest of that sauce all over the chicken. I'm gonna set my crock pot on low, and this is going to cook for 4 to 6 hours. I am very, very grateful for my crock pot this week because we have had some massively hot days out here in this part of Texas. They're saying that we're supposed to have rain sometime this week, so we are really praying that we get that rain and we get a good drenching because we need it. But today is like over 101 degrees out there. The heat is hot. You can see a haze in the sky from the humidity. Look at how easily this chicken falls apart. I'm not even hardly touching it and it just shreds all by itself. I'm gonna go ahead and add this back into the crock pot and let it just simmer in these delicious juices for a little bit until we're ready to eat it. We got like a little buffet style stuff going on here. So Jason's got the spinach and artichoke dip with the little toaster out for whoever wants that. I've got some shredded cheese, sour cream. We have some little bit of lime juice. I forgot to get a fresh lime. And I also didn't get cilantro because usually we eat cilantro on these as well. And I also have these chips out. These are the ones from United. So this is mine. I'm just doing some cheese and sour cream. Jason's gonna have a little bit of the lime juice on his. And then I have my chips. I'm looking so forward to this meal. The first time I made this slow cooker meal, we fell in love with it. We have had it quite often. It's just that good. This is Crockpot chicken and stuffing. In a bowl, I'm mixing together 1/2 cup of sour cream and a can of cream of chicken soup. Give this a good stir. The recipe doesn't say to, but I'm gonna add salt and pepper to this. In a separate bowl, I'm adding 1 cup of low sodium chicken broth and 1 package of stovetop stuffing. I'm using the chicken flavor. You can use any flavor, is really good in here. Savory herb is good, we've had that too. I'm gonna stir this really well and get this broth mixed into the stovetop stuffing. So I sprayed my crock pot really well. I'm gonna take a little bit of the soup mixture. I'm gonna put that on the bottom of my crock pot. I'm putting 4 boneless skinless chicken breasts into my crock pot. The recipe only calls for 3, but every time I make this, I always make 4. I'm gonna add some more salt and pepper to the top of the chicken. I'm topping it with the rest of the soup mixture. I'm gonna evenly spread this out on each chicken breast as best I can. Now I'm adding the stuffing. I'm gonna spread this out so that the chicken is covered completely. I'm gonna place this in my crock pot and then I'm gonna cook this on low for the day. So this does not look appetizing, I get it, but it is delicious. This is definitely a very simple crock pot meal full of flavor. You gotta give this one a try. We got some corn on the side and that wraps up dinner. For more cooking ideas, here are 2 more videos that will help you. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful day and I will see you soon.